Hello everyone, let's write a little bit more onto little and Johnson's and then we can start. Okay, let's start. Hello everyone, welcome to today's session, and today we are going to continue talking about Java databases, not only Java databases, but databases in general. And then today we'll also start working on practical things on databases. We will create our own database. And also I will show you how can we work with the databases using Java. So from the last session, as you remember, we started discussing what the databases are in general. So the idea is that we store the data here. So just any person data, any text, for example, as well can be stored in the databases. So any non-fixed data to be stored in database. If I say non-fixed, it means that, for example, if you just the overall structure of the for example, if it's website, a web application, or any application, or just any software. Yeah, if it's static, fixed content, then it is not a part of the database. But if you have users, if you have products, if you have news, for example, as I mentioned last time, and any such kind of data which changes time by time, which can be inserted, deleted, or modified in some way, then this should be stored in the database. And if we talk about databases, we mostly talk about different types of databases. Yeah, there can be Oracle database, PostgreSQL, MySQL, Mongo database, and so on. In our course, we'll talk about SQL databases, and basically we have two main things to discuss. The first thing is just the databases, how they look like, what kind of data, and in what way can we store the data there, how can we link the tables, how can we modify the tables, how can we change the tables, and secondly, just to modify the tables, to make the databases, to make the contents of the databases, we use SQL. This is language, so just the same as Java, the same, it's not the same, but the idea is the same as we have in, for example, Java. We write the code, we provide the commands to the program, and the program does all the commands there we provide in text. The same is with SQL. That's the language. It's a little bit different type of language, but the idea is that, again, the same. We provide the commands, and these commands are executed. And SQL is used to actually work with the databases. Yeah, using SQL queries, we can modify the structure of the databases. We can create new databases, new database tables, add the keys to them, link database tables, add foreign keys, create indexes, and so on and so on. And the same with the content. We can insert content, we can modify content, we can delete content. Yes, so that's, we can show the content select the data from the tables and then work with the data. So yeah, this is what, and as you can see, SQL is used, half of the programmers use SQL. That's because, again, this is the database, and almost all the, almost all the software programs, websites use databases. So the data must be stored needs to be stored somewhere, and that's why we use SQL programming language to access the database tables. Maybe in some cases you will not see SQL in kind of open way. Yes, for example, if we talk about some frameworks, we'll see in Java it is SQL, but it can be it's just not like direct SQL. We do not provide the SQL queries directly, but for example, I will show you one moment. I will show you one example. Yeah. So this is the example from the so-called Laravel framework. This is built on PHP, and as we can see that that in some frameworks use kind of SQL. Yeah, maybe in this case you just do not see SQL syntax directly, but there are the methods and there are the functions which basically do the same that is done using SQL queries. So it may be hidden in some methods, in some objects, but under this logic there's SQL. So if we call some methods using some different classes, then we actually under this all there's SQL language which allows us to work with the databases. So this is how it looks. Also, we can use diagrams to show the entity relationship. That's because some tables are related. For example, again, if we have a table which stores a department, and the department has ID and name, and then we have employee, which is linked, which works in this department. There can be many kinds of relations, types of relations. What I wanted to show is, and we will work with such thing together today on practical assignment, is that I'll show you an example from my page, because quite familiar and we can directly see. For example, we have a table of users. Yes, they may be the table of users, different users, and under the users there are addresses linked to the users. In this case, the content is initial, but the linkages may be we store just simple users in one table, then we store all the properties in another table, and then we have so-called foreign key. It's not. Oh no, it should be mentioned in the structure. Show you one moment. Okay. That's here, but we can see from here that we have the user, then it has the parent ID, which actually is linked to the table of users. And so this is foreign key, parent ID. So we have entry here with separate IDs and the contents under users list. But it has the field which actually points us to the exact user which is located in different table. So, and it's also the common approach when very usual approach when the when there's like table with the users, and then you may see, for example, ID and username, for example, and then the name, surname can be stored in different table. Yeah, it's maybe called text table. So sometimes the texts are separated from the main table. In the main table, we can have just like some basic keys of the users, for example, if it's a user or any object. Then yeah, we can store the keys in one table, and then all the text can be stored in different table. This is a pretty usual approach, just to not store everything in one table. In some cases, it's not needed because when we talk about the performance, it's really important to think about the performance for programmers, because that's the time, and especially if we have lots of data, then we process, and then the code we write the code which processes the data, and if we have like thousands or hundreds of thousands of entries we work with, then of course the key for us is to make the logic as fast as we can. So in this case, we need to get rid of all the stuff which decreases the time, which decreases the performance. So it means that like if we have poor logic which works with the data, then at the end we will have the logging on the system, and the waiting time will be quite huge, and so on for the users. So it's not good for the users. And the talk about the databases is so if we talk about the performance, then the databases are actually the key why there can be poor performance in most cases. Because again, most data is stored there, and in addition, remember, we haven't talked about it, but the idea is that the databases are stored on a server, so it's not just like nearby the code. Like if you have the code, then all the data is there inside the code, so we can easily access it. But using the database, we need to request the database to actually provide us to fetch the data from the database. And also, if we want to modify, then we also need to send the modify request. So first, if we have this calling the database, it takes some time. It takes much more time if we just work inside the code. So for this case, we need to think about the performance, and we need to think about how can we optimize all our solutions. And we need to be careful and just not if you don't need some data, then we don't usually fetch this data from the database if we don't. The same is about what I just said. Then usually the main keys of the objects are located in one table, then the texts and the secondary information is located in different tables. That's because of the performance, just to make it faster. In some cases, if we only need to work with the key information of the users, then we just work with the corresponding table and don't touch other tables. That's that. So then we talk about data types, the same as in Java and other programming languages. We have different data types. Basically, the idea is quite the same. We can have numeric values and we can have text values. Also, we have dates, and also quite usually used. We usually also use timestamp, mostly for the records. Like if we have the records in the database table, the rows, then it is usually there is the field timestamp which points when the entry was added, to the table or when the entry was changed. So this is also, timestamps usually are used to provide such information to us when the changes were done. It's also very important. And then, as I said, there are constraints: primary key and foreign key. Primary key are not must-have, but almost always used. And the idea is that these keys are unique. They cannot be the same. So for different flows. And in addition, again, if we talk about the performance, so it's very important to think here as well. So it means that if we have unique key, it means that it is faster if we select the entry using the primary key, because this is unique. So the keys can be, for example, sorted or stored in different ways. But the idea, if the keys are unique, then the search is faster. Search is faster, and we can access the database more easily than to just select any other fields. But it's possible to use multiple parameters for search, so we can get the right entry. And then we talked about table creations. I've shown you my PHP and my PHP MyAdmin. In the task I sent to you, in this practical assignment, you need to set up your own database. Basically, most usually we use maybe at the beginning, usually MySQL is used. That's the tool which allows you to build your own server, your own database on the computer. So you can firstly I need to build server. Like in our case, I have a server on my computer which is located under localhost. But if you use your computer, then it is usually localhost. On localhost you can also store some different things, but if you work with databases, then it is usually stored under localhost. And so using MySQL, you can install some necessary things like server and with this MySQL. But this is not what I use, because I usually use the database for web development, and that's why I use XAMPP. And this is used for PHP development, for web development. So it's easy to build websites using XAMPP. That's why I use it, and from my point of view, it's a little bit more easy to use it than MySQL, because again, if you go to MySQL, that's correct. Go to MySQL, then you will see there are lots of things to download, and maybe for you that won't be comfortable, especially at the beginning, if you don't really know what to download, then maybe XAMPP would be a better option, especially maybe a little bit later, not in this course, but maybe in the next course, which is more advanced course. There will be some things talked about the web development, and web development XAMPP can be really useful. So the idea is that if you download XAMPP, then after that all the main things will be downloaded, and you will you will have this exam control panel. And basically using this exam control panel, for example, if we stop everything, then I cannot access my localhost. That's because it is not running. It's not running. If I run, so I'm not sure if I need to run Apache. A moment, let me check. And, yeah, we also need to run Apache. Okay, so if we run Apache, then everything is fine, and now I can access my server. So install should not be complicated. So I mentioned. So basically, I just need to download and install. After that, when you run, you can use this phpMyAdmin. So again, you need to go to localhost and open phpMyAdmin using \, and then you can easily then you have your server, and here you can see all the databases you have on the server. But yeah, we'll talk a little bit later about it, how to use it and what we can do. But yeah, all the things can be done here, and basically all the things we do here are done using SQL. For example, if we show the data, then so we have database, and if we go under database table, we can see that there's nothing to show here. There's no data, but basically it tries to show the entries from customer to table. The table is entry, but it is based on SQL Query. So just anything to show, it shows using select query, using SQL select query. Same if we delete the entry, then you can see that it shows we really want to execute delete from. So this is also the query. So basically, all the actions done with the database tables are done using SQL queries. So we can construct, or we will construct the queries a little bit later, but just basically to understand everything, all the actions here are done using SQL query. Also, just maybe short to understand, we can also export the database. So if I export in SQL format, so I press export, then I get this SQL file, I get this SQL file. Basically, this is also the text file with the code, and here we can see the basically our database table. No, it's the raw database. So here you can see all the content we have in our database, and with all the values, all the tables. So this is select query, which allows us to basically copy and paste this table, this database. So for example, if I delete the database right now, I prefer deleting it from here, from databases. So if I need to delete the database. So there's that handle previously, and handle lists. Okay, so I can drop it from here. So I can button. So I drop. That one moment. So I will show one thing, and then I will continue. Right now, so as you can see, the database is deleted. But if I execute the same query in SQL Query I just downloaded, so I can just copy paste this SQL query here. I run this query. This query, 1 moment. So I have something is missed. Let me check it again. Oh yeah, so it okay. I have not exported it fully. Moment, so I think right now I can export it. So then if I a moment, I'll create another database. Okay, so for example, yeah, it just migrates everything. So for example, yeah, let me delete the tables. For example, I will delete the tables, then I will run the query in here. Oh yeah, and right now all the tables are here. Yeah. So using this SQL, you can basically copy paste all the database content you have. For example, again, I'll show it again. So just export. I think click and I'll use custom. So just migrate all the structure and data. Again, I download it. Then I can delete the database and then I'll create it again. So first of all, let me delete the database. So I delete the database, then I'll create another database. So database will be just Java, for example. So I create a database and I can simply run the same code from here. And all the tables are back. So using SQL queries, we can basically export the content using SQL, and then when we execute this content, we will basically see the same database. So this is also using SQL. We can migrate and easily set up the content from one place to another. It's also very comfortable. Especially if you need to move your databases from one place to another. Using this, I want to say that SQL is very powerful way how can we manage our databases. This is basically the base for all the databases, how we work with them. Okay, it seems that issue for data is not relevant anymore. Is not deleted the message. Okay. So yeah, and so we can create databases. We can do it using the code. I just show. So maybe I can show this code with you. So I will touch it in Discord, so you can. You can see how it looks like. But again, if you create your own database, then so if you create your own table, then you can do it the same way. So here you can see that maybe from the notepad that won't be really comfortable. Let me go to SQL. Yeah, right here it looks pretty more understandable. So what we have here, we have create query. So this is SQL query which creates the table with all the parameters we provided. Field name, type, the length of the element, and some additional properties needed. So then we have test table with some with the fields. Also in the same way, we'll provide the name of the field, the type of the field, and some properties of the field. And yeah, also the data. So we use insert and we add data to the table. Insert data. And yeah, at the end you can see statement commit. This is what we was at which point we finished last time. Yeah, so this is also about SQL queries. There are basically lots of SQL commands. So we go here, we can see all the commands, and in Google it's very easy to find all the SQL query, all the syntax for SQL queries you are looking for. So it's very easy to find the right way how to use SQL queries. With MySQL localhost link, this is localhost should be just doing. I mean this one. This is localhost. That's for it. But don't forget to run Apache and MySQL. If you don't, so basically what you can see here. So you see PID and port. These are actually the ports used for your localhost. For example, if I have different posts, then they can navigate to different places. So the ports are important, and it's really interesting thing if you use your local servers. For example, if you have like multiple servers, then if you have the port occupied from one server, then you cannot use this port anymore. So be careful when you use. This is the same if you, for example, this is what I was talking about. If you use, for example, example and MySQL server, then they usually use the same port. This one, I guess, 3306. So then you cannot use them at the same time. Yeah. So you can use only one of them. That's because the port may be occupied. So that's why be careful. Be careful. So yeah, this is about queries. So yeah, this is what I've shown you, how to create tables using SQL queries. This can be done using SQL query. And also we can do it manually because again PHP admin, myadmin, and also MySQL Workbench provide us easy interface to do it using just by pressing the buttons. We should not. We don't need to write the code. We can just simply press all the buttons we want. Just to create a table. So create a table under the database. Then we provide all the names. Field 1, field 2, and field 3, for example. Can be integer. This can be some varchar, for example, have some kind of date or timestamp, for example, and yeah, some additional things to be additional properties. You can also assign them here. Yeah, under index we can provide, and this should be primary key. So we can save the table, and then we'll have the table. Again, no need to write SQL queries by ourselves. But again, as I just shown before, this can also be done using SQL query. And yeah, so this is how we can proceed. Just pressing the buttons. without writing the code. But the code is needed, especially if we work with the programs. Then the data can be changed inside the program. Then the data goes to the database after that. So yeah, we can have multiple actions with the tables. We can describe customers. This will actually show us the structure of the table. Yeah, we can also add additional fields to the table using the code. We can modify the structure of the table. We can also delete the column if we want. This can be name and so on. So basically, multiple actions can be done here. So yeah, and we finished with the thing which is directly related to performance, and also to the way how we usually work using the sessions. So yeah, we use sessions for the databases, and it's not like every time if we do some things with the database, we write some queries, we change the structure of the tables or the content of the tables, then we usually, at the end, we have usually two options. To commit the changes, it means that all the changes will be saved, or rolled back means that changes won't be saved. It's needed again to, as I said, to not like every time change the database directly, but to actually do all the changes we need. After we finish changing everything, we just commit the changes, and it means that all the changes will be saved after that. But if we roll back, it means that all the changes we've done during our session before commit will be rolled back and won't be saved. So yeah, so data changing, we use insert, not usually, but we always use insert into table. The same we can see in Sql Query I provided here. If we want to add some new entries, then we use insert into, and the entries are inserted. We will write all these queries in our program, so we will see how it works. Yeah, so the record can be added using insert, and then we can check the result using select query. And yeah, this is really interesting thing in SQL. We usually use uppercase for keywords, for such keywords like insert into, not names. Yeah, for names we use lower cases usually, but for key values like insert into values, these are considered as key values. Keywords. Sorry, key values, keywords. Yeah, and the keywords are written in uppercase. But the fields written in lowercase, and we use quotation marks. Single quotation marks are used for the values, and in some cases for the table names, also for such names like table names or field names, we use double quotation marks. So this way. Okay, this is strange. It's interesting that I think you understand that these are double quotation marks and these are single quotation marks. So the idea is that in some cases names of the table and the field names are written using double quotation marks. So these are for the names, and the single quotation marks for the values. So this is also really important. Some cases can be used. Yeah, and then to edit the records, we can use update SQL query. So this is the query which actually updates the database table. So kind of the same as insert, but update. So yeah, then we can delete the entries using delete statement. So it's quite straightforward. And basically all the SQL statements are straightforward. Please, I want to delete from the table customer. I want to delete entry from the table customer where the ID is free. So in this case there is no ID free. Here is ID free, so it searches for the entry where there's ID free equals free. Then it searches, it finds this row, and then the row is deleted. Yeah, then there can also be the connection between two tables. As I just said, we usually use the approach when we have the key values, the key values of the objects in one table, located in one table, then the text values are located in another table. Yeah. So, and in this case, we actually connect two tables. This can be done using connection. So we create the second table and yeah, so it shows the reference to another table. Like in this case, we can see that we have the table customers, have customer ID. This one. One moment. Yeah, so we have customer ID. That's correct. Then we have another table which has another ID, its own ID, which is order ID, and amount, order date, status, and the owner, who is actually the customer. And the customer is it has the reference to customer ID, so it means that the owner field here should be linked to the customer here. We'll see. Yeah, we will implement this logic, so we'll see how it looks on the database level. So yeah, and then we connect the table. So we have the connection of the with the tables. So we have the field owner, which is actually referred to another table. So yeah, this is when we select, you can see that the owner, owner's practically is inserted, and we can do all the same things here. So yeah, one is customer ID, one the owner. Yeah, so if we want to retrieve data, we use select query. Select query, we first would provide, so we have the syntax work in this way. We have select keyword, that means that we want to select, and then on the second position we need to mention the columns. If we use a star, I can show you. Yeah, so if we use star, it means that we want to select all the entries from the table. Now, for example, if I do, for example, this way, select not star but field 1, then it will returns me one field only. Yeah. And the same way, I can also provide multiple fields here. I can ask to select field 1 and field 3. So this will select two fields for me. And this is needed in some cases because sometimes we don't need all the data. So if I just want one exact column or field to be selected, then I provide one multiple. Then I provide the names of these fields. This returns me the value. And then I use from, and using from we provide the table name. And so it must be the table name. It can be written as just the table. If we work with multiple databases, then we need to write the database name. Like this way, database name. Then we use dot, and then we have table name. So then it will be this way. If there's another database we use. Okay. So it can also be done this way, but if we work with the same data inside one database, then we just simply use the table name. Then there's where statement, where you can write where conditions. Yeah, we usually, for example, write field 1 equals to value, for example, and so the same as in Java, we have and we have in Java we have and we have for. The same as with SQL, we can write and field equals value 2, or for example can also use or we can use or. So in this case we can build our query based on what we want to search for. So if we have or, then it will select all the entries where field 1 equals to value 1 and it will also select all the entries where field 2 equals to value 2. If we have and, then it means that it will select all the entries where field 1 equals value 1 in the same time when field 2 equals to value 2. So yeah, this is how it should look like. I'll just simply delete it, it's really fine. And then grouping by, and this means that we want to group. This is maybe not used. We won't use group by and having in the beginning. These are maybe more additional queries, not so usually used. And ordered by means that if we at the result, we'll have the result table like this one. With multiple entries. Then if we have multiple entries, then we want to get them in ordered way. So ordered by order date, for example, or ordered by total amount, just any way we want to order them, so we get the corresponding result. So here, and here we also have Sql Operators. I just said we can use and or. Also we can use not, which will actually not equal. And we can also use, as I said, and or. And for example, right here when I used field 1, it can also not only equals to something, but also it can be greater or twice than some value. So this can be used, or greater than or equal to, between. If we have two values, then between can be used in if that's for ranges. Can be used for ranges. Can be used for ranges. Just if we have range of 1, 2, 3, 7, 20, then we select all the values which are in the range of 1, 2, 3, or 20, for example. Yeah. That is null actually means if the value of the field is not null, and like it matches character pattern. So there can be different character patterns, and using like we can search for the exact field. So yeah, this is the example of select statement. It can be just simple. Select all the fields from customer table, then it selects us the values from the customer table. It actually means the same if we select all the columns, so we can provide all the columns separately, but this is the same. We just use star and select all the values for us. So nothing special here. Yeah, then there can also be concatenation keyword. This means that we want to concatenate two columns. If we have select query, then we ask select and concatenate two columns for us, and as means that this will be displayed as customer name. Not displayed, but this will be returned as customer name. Like in this case, what we basically do, we ask the database to select these two fields and to concatenate them as the result in customer name. So at the end we have all the fields concatenated here. And yeah, here it says that we also want to separate them. In this case we need to build some build a little bit more complicated SQL query. In this case, we have two concatenation. So first we concatenate first name field. So this is Janis, Martin, and yours in this case. We concatenate them with empty space, and after it is concatenated with empty space, so we have the value which is first name plus empty space, and then it is concatenated with the last name and returned as customer name. At the end, then we can use a where statement. As I said, we can provide the conditions we want to use, the same as we have in Java. When we check some statements, so it also returns true or false, but this one returns true or false for each entry separately. So we basically check all the entries, all the potential entries from where we can select. So in this case we check all the table and we check every entry. So we go to the first entry, we see is total amount less than 15? Yes, it is, it's true. We put it to result. Then we go next, we check is 15, if we go to the second entry and we check is 15 less than 15. No, it's not. We don't add this entry. Then we go ahead. Is 20 less than 15? No. So we stop our searching because the table is over. All the entries are checked, and as a result we have only one entry. So we basically provide the condition which is checked for each potential entry to be selected. Then we can also provide text values to the search. In this case, don't worry, it's not like string in Java. Here are the strings which are not objects, so we can simply check them using comparison. In Java, this is assigning operator. In SQL, assigning operator is the same as checking operator, comparison operator. So in this case, this is the same. This is the same. And then if we want, for example, so in this case we check all the orders with the status processed. So we select all the entries where there's the status. So the status is processed, so we select only these entries. Also, if we want to get orders dated between the 1st of September and 15th of October, then we just we select all the columns from the table where order data is between. So here's the mistake. Sorry, here's the mistake. It should be. That's fine. It should be this way. This was crazy, built crazy way. Yeah. So it should be between 1st of August and 25th of September. And we have just the corresponding query, which actually selects us all the values which are greater than, all the dates which are greater than 1st of August and less than 25th of September. Then we can also use ordered by, which will actually return us the entries ordered by the column in ascending way. By the column we provided after order by statement. So in this case we provide we order by first name, so we have in ascending we have this sorting in ascending order. Sometimes it's needed for display if you want to display data. In some cases need to sort the data. The same way if we want to order by date, so this will also order the date, the entries in ascending way, so you can see that the sequence is different now, and the entries are sorted by date in ascending way. And okay, maybe we can start talking about joining after the break. So let's have a break now. After the break we'll talk about how to join tables. Okay, so we can move on. The question from Lima. Yes, it seems correct. Now you need to start Apache and MySQL. So you need to start these two to be able to access to your database. So you can try to run. Okay, then can I understand it? Maybe let's about blue text. Okay. Yes, as it says, it's better to run it as administrator. In some cases that should not be the problem, but yeah, just to be sure, it is better to yeah, currently for me that's not the problem. Yeah, I can run it without administrator, right? But in some cases it is recommended to run this control panel as administrator, and then it should be fine. Because in some cases yeah, maybe I will show you one more thing. Let's say Cloud Connector, which is also which also uses localhost. And for example, if I run it simply without not as administrator, then I get such issue. If I run it as administrator, then it should be fine. And after that, yeah, this is as an example, so I can so yeah, this has different port. with different port, and I'm in set call connector. So basically, here you can see the difference. If I use this port 8443, then I'm here. This is call connector. I just started. Yeah. And so if I don't provide, so I have default one, then I'm on a different page, which is my website front, which is located on my exam server. And so using ports, we can access different websites, different content. Placed on our computer. Moment, let me check one thing. Okay. Yeah. So for example, right here I run with the ports 80, and so there are two ports, 80 and 443. So if I provide 80, then I basically get the same. Provide 443. Oh, that's different one. If I provide 8443, then it navigates me to this cloud connector, which is different one. So using ports, we can navigate to different places. Just for information. Yeah. So yeah. Now let's move. Let's move on. Yeah. Maybe one. Have you managed to run MySQL? Just previously some other not yet. Okay, so do you have any issues there? Because there may be some issues with the setup, and that's why I'm wondering if you don't have such issues. So please let me know how your results are there. Yeah, no rush. I'm just wondering if you have any issues, because there may be some issues related to the setup on your computers. That's why you need to just be sure that everything is fine. Okay, so let's move on with SQL queries, and now there's such thing like join. Join means that we have the select. Yeah, so we select the data from the database, and we can select the data from two tables. So we can basically the query looks the same with one additional option that we have join. Join means that we select from one table, and then using join we select from another table. So here we have one table, and I think this is this query is not really correct. Let me clarify. To clarify this. Yeah, because in this case we select from one table and then we need to join from another table, which should be yeah. So yeah, now it should be. Let's maybe type it more correctly, because at this point let's do it this way. Still, that's maybe a little bit confusing. And yeah, so this way, yeah, because now it should be more understandable. So yeah, we select from one table, then we join another table, and then we provide we use dot, so using dot we provide the fields on which we want to join. So by default we have one table, not by default, but we select from one table, and then we want to join additional table, so we can use the content from both tables. And to use the corresponding columns, we provide the table name, we use dot, and we provide the column name. And the same if you want to select the entries, then you can select this way. This way. So to select the corresponding columns, we need to provide table name. So it will be table 1 field 1, and then it will be table 2 field 2, and so on. So we use dots to get to the corresponding field from the corresponding table. And then we can have where conditions the same. If you want to use the fields, then we then use table name, and use column, field name, and we write the statement. So the only difference is that when we use join, then when we select the columns, we need to provide the table name, and after that we table name dot, and then we provide the column name. The same is with the grouping and ordering. Basically everywhere where we use the field name, we need to use the table name as well. So this is one of the examples for join. So we have two tables, and yeah, joins are really useful. For example, again, as I mentioned today, when we have the table with, for example, users, and then we have the tables with the user texts. So we have the tables, and just to provide all the information about the users. Again, we select from table users, and we join another table, text table. At the end, we will see all the information about the users. For example, we have customer, then we can have customer address, so we have a table which stores all the addresses, and then we have the table which stores all the orders, for example. So we join these two tables, and at the end, and the result, we see the information for this particular customer in order table. So we select, in this case we select, we joining by ID, we select by name. So the idea is that in this table, as you can see, we don't store the first and the last name of the customer. We just store the ID, because we don't need to store it twice. If we have ID for the customer, then the data for this customer is located here, and no need to store the same data twice. That's also the point the point for databases. We don't usually store the same data more than once, but we want to link this data, so we link using ID. So we search for this owner in this table. Vice versa. We search for the user with the first name and the last name. So we find it from here. We have ID. Then using this ID, we search the orders from this table. So we can see the ID for Janis Berziņš is 1. So it's 1. We search for the owner with the ID 1. So this is this one and this one. So it has 2 entries. And then we select these 2 entries. And the same is here. If we select for Janis Berziņš, then these two entries are selected, as I said. So here we select the columns. As you can see, we need to provide the table name, and yeah, we can also name the we can name the table. Yeah, for example, just to not write the full name of the table, we can provide the short name for the corresponding table. This is not always used, but this is usually used. I prefer using the full names of the tables, but the short names are also fine. So you provide the table name, and then you provide, in some cases, there is so-called thing, such statement like as used, Sql enjoy as. Yeah, in some cases it is used, but in this case, yeah, there's just simple shortened name used. So in this case, we consider that CT is the customer, and we use it as the customer table. We just don't write the full name customer, we write CT, and this is the same. Yeah, and here we have the table name order T, but we name it as OT, and then we basically use this table, we use this shorter name as the table. And this is approach usually used. Sometimes tables are named like A, B, C, D. Also, this is approach used. For me, in some cases, it seems that like if you have a large query, then you can not really understand which table is used. You may be confused. If you use such short names, then in some cases it's not so understandable. But yeah, that's just to be precise. And finally, we go to Java. Yeah. So this is topic about Java. We move to Java. So the idea is how can we actually connect our Java application with the database. So as you remember, now we have on the database level we use queries, but we also want to do with the data something, because again, using the queries, it's really fine. We can store the data in the database, then we can also get the data from the database, but there are two questions. First question is how can we provide the data to the database. Yeah? So we have the data. Data can be filled from the website, again, from the web application, or just any application. So we have the data. So this data is provided to the application, to the website, or just anywhere again where you provide the data. So the data is provided. Then there is Java code. Again, it can be Java code, any type of code. But in this case, we talk about Java. So there is Java code. I will close the programs I don't need at the moment, just to not overflow my computer. And then it's suppose that should be fine. So yeah, the question is how can we provide data to the database? Because initially no user will just directly change the data from the PHP admin or the database directly. So no one will write the queries and just put or get the data. And usually it is integrated with the applications, with the websites. I will just call applications, but I also mean applications, websites, and basically all the software. So yeah, the question is, how can we put the data, and how can we get the data to use it? So yeah, we will use SQL queries for this, but also we need to pass these queries from somewhere. And so to do it, we use a Java application. Yeah, we provide the data, we get the data, and so yeah. And now the question is, how can we connect our Java application with the database? And in Java, there is such a thing called Java Database Connectivity, JDBC. Usually used shorter name. Yeah. So yeah, this is the API. So API, application programming interface, which allows us to connect. Basically, APIs usually allow, in general, allow us to connect two or more systems, places. So in this case, we have API which connects database with the Java application. So to be able to connect it, we need this Java Database Connectivity API. So yeah, this is access technology used for Java Database Connectivity. So to connect, so we need to use this Java Database Connectivity API to be able to work with the database. So using this Java Database Connectivity, we can basically execute the queries. Yeah, the queries to fetch the data and to move the data. So to fetch the data and to change the data on the database level. So this is kind of the same as we had previously worked with the Java applications, not applications, but Java code, Java programs. We ran our program. We provided some data from console line. So in this case, what we can do, we can provide the data to the console line. Then we can write the code which will execute the query on database level, and then the data will be changed on the database. The same way we can run the program which will generate the SQL query, which will be again executed on the database level, and then the data from the database will be fetched for us. So yeah, this is why it's needed. Yeah. First of all, we need to set up environment for Java Database Connectivity. And that's because, so it's not just like, first of all, we need to connect our Java program to database. And as usual, to connect, we need to provide the details of the server we have. Provide details of the server we have and provide the username, because again, as I think we discussed last time, that different users have different accesses. So it's like not every user can change everything. Not every user can read anything. So there are the restrictions. And to manage these restrictions, the usernames and passwords are used for the users. It can be done using SQL. The same way it can also be done using, again, if you manually manually set it up in your administration of the database. For example, what I do, I have my server, and then I go to user accounts, and yeah, I have for the host name, which is this one, my local host, I have root user with no password. So I can create new user, but I already have. So this is just simple root user with the host name and without the password. So I give all the accesses to this user, so this user can do everything. In my case, it's fine because this is localhost. I don't have any restrictions to it. And basically using this user, I think that should be enough for us to be able to connect our Java code to Java program to the local host, to the server. And also what needs to be done is, it says here, we need to have so-called Java connector, so we can download it from Java website. So I clicked on it, and then I have this zip file, and I have this GAR, which is actually Java library. So this is Java library, and we need to use it. And I will show you how can we do it. So let me open the Eclipse. There are different ways how can we install. In this course we will not talk about Maven, but using Maven, it is the installing of the libraries are done in a different way. But just in this case, most simple case, we can add the library to our project. In a moment, I will show you how can we do it. So here's my workspace. Let's finally load it. And right here we can go to those paths. Oh, a moment, I need to extract. Sorry, a moment. I will extract this GR to here. A moment. So I will extract it. So it's here. And now I can add this library. So it should be here. So here I can add external GAR. Just a little bit slower. So right click on your project, go to those paths, then you can configure those paths. From here you can press on class path and press on add external GAR. And then you can navigate to your this one. No, sorry. I think just it's host. No, Sql connector. This one. Sql connector. This one. So I select it, and now I have this library available. So I can build it. And one moment, let's see if it should be under reference to libraries. I have this library. So this is the library which has the packages, the classes, which are actually this GDBC API. Yeah, so these are the classes which can be used, which will be used by us to connect to our database and to work with the data in this database. So this step is done. I recommend to do it. I recommend you to also do it, because without it you cannot write the code for database. So please click on this link, then download, export, and add it to your build path under your project, under the class path. So go to libraries and click on class path and click on add external GAR and add this library. Get my project is back in Eclipse. That's the view. I go to the window, show view, and I think here you already have this project explorer, so you can open it, and this will be here. Basically everything. If you, that's maybe small off top from my side. If you lost any view, so you can navigate to window, show view, and find the view here, or go to under and search for the view here. It's maybe a quite common problem, but all the views can be found under show view, window, show view, and you can search for your view right here. It should be here. Alright, so now we have the library here, and we can move on. And so yeah, how to write the program in Java to work with database. So first of all, it says create new Java project. We can use the same project. We don't need to create new project. So this step can be so this is not needed. If you want, you can create new project. You can basically use at the moment the same project. Then secondly, we have two options. Again, as I said, first we can the simple way how to do it is if we just simply download this GAR and just add it as a new library. But in most cases, I think I haven't used it here, but what we can do, maybe just we haven't discussed it, but I will quickly say it, that we can convert our project to Maven project. So, and then if you convert it to Maven project, this is not Maven project, but this is Maven project. I have another project, so this is converted to Maven project. And once it is converted to Maven project, you have this POM XML file, and you'll see such thing called dependencies. And under dependencies, you can add the dependency, which will actually, so once you add dependency, this will load the corresponding library. So yeah, we'll have right in this case we have just a GRE system library. Then I have reference libraries. In this case, I have so-called Maven dependencies. So these are all the libraries loaded from Maven. So in Maven project, what I just simply need to do, I need to add this Maven dependency, and this will load automatically. So when I save it, this will load automatically the Maven dependency, the library to my project. And maybe I'll quickly show you how this can be done. So I search for so in Google I just search for MySQL moment Java GDBC I can basically write Maven. So it navigates me to the website, and right here I can press on the corresponding version, and what I can see the Maven entry here. What I do, I copy, I paste it. I already have it here, so I can paste it here. Oh yeah, it's new version. Yeah. So this is even better. So I copy, I paste it, new version. Then my project is rebuilding. And right now I should have right now I have new version of Java library. So it loaded me new version. Yeah, you don't need to do it at the moment. I'm just showing that you can add the libraries manually, and you can also use Maven project. And using Maven project, you just need to add this XML entry. This will load the libraries. I'm saying this because in some cases you will need to search for the libraries. And in most cases Java libraries are provided in this way. Yeah, so when you search for the libraries, then you will see something like this. Not something like this, but you will just see the entry for the dependency. So sometimes it's not so easy to search for to find this GAR as the file, but it's easy to find Maven dependency. So in this case, you will just simply need to copy this Maven dependency, paste it to your POM XML file, and this will automatically load the dependency for you. So it's quite comfortable to use it this way. No need to download everything separately. No need to add it. Just change the XML file. Alright, but here we edit it manually, so also the option. Okay, so right now we have this library. The library is available, and we can use this library in our code. Yeah, so there's you can create new class. Again, we can use existing logic, and inside the logic, the first step would be that we load. We call this command class for name, and we provide this driver. For Java, we need to load the driver. Basically, this actually loads the driver. And for GDBC, just this part of code needs to be added, and then we can then the driver will be available. So then this is the first step. Then the next step, the main step, is to establish the connection to the database. To get the connection, we need to call the static method get-connection, and inside this method we provide the details for the connection. So you have basically the details for the connection. I will show what connection I use for a moment. I'll just show the code for a moment. So yeah, basically need to provide the path to this connection. In a moment I will show you how it looks. How it looks for my localhost for this one. One moment, I will show you. So we have it. Moments. Just one quick going to search for it. This one. So, yeah, so this is how it looks like in my case. So I provide GDBC, MySQL, this is fine, and then I provide the host name. So this is localhost 127.0.0.1. Then I have slash, and so this is in this case it seems not correct, but not correct. But yeah, this is a different way. Yeah, we can provide different ways by just concatenating the string, but maybe more understandable way would be that we have three parameters here. So first parameter is the path to the server, and then we have username and password. And then we have username and password, and then after this point we have the connection. So we have the connection, and using this connection we can actually access our database. Yeah, we can write the queries, we can get the data, we can change the data using this particular connection. And at the end, connection should be closed, I think, as I remember. Yeah, we need to close the connection. At the end, the same as for the scanner, connection should also be closed at the end. Yeah, we'll see how good. So yeah, we have the connection. Using this connection, we can work with our program. Yeah. So then, once we have the connection, we can create the statement, and the statement will actually be the object. From Java perspective, this is the object which is responsible for SQL statement. So using the statement object, we generate the SQL query. We'll see how we can work with it. So, but using the statement, we can first create the query, and then we can execute. So it calls there are different options to do. Execute update. So this actually provides the command insert delete or update for SQL. Then execute query, which just simply executes the query. But yeah, in this case, if execute update is called, then it returns an integer which actually represents how many rows affected. For example, if we insert something in the database, let's create insert something, value, so that's integer, so remember, so we have, we just want two values. Like integer, we have text, as I remember. Okay, I will not enter data. So when you input, when you write insert, then this shows one row inserted. If we, so let's do it this way. For example, so yeah, have key value. So what was the value? Remember, there is value 1 to 3. So if I execute update, I 1 to 3. Let me 1 to 4. And let's set the third name. I'll skip the third value. Skip it, and then there will be text, for example. Let's check. I think make sure this will be. This is correct. And so we can see there's one row affected, which is basically the same we got in Java. So in Java we can do the execution this way. So this I think is executed using PHP, as I understand. The same can be done using Java, and the result will also be the same. It shows how many rows affected. So from Java point of view, this will be the same. Then there is so-called execute query, which is needed for mostly for select queries. Yeah, when we call select query, then we have the result, right? And so using execute query, we can the method returns the result for us, and then we have the result. So we can work with this result in our Java code. Alright. And then we can just execute, which just returns true. The first object that the query returns is result set. This method can also be used for select query. As an example, we have this. We insert something. We have statement. Using statement, we execute. We call execute method, and then we just provide the query here. We provide the query, and the result we will have this data in database table. So basically, the idea is the same as always. We have Sql Query. Sql Query is executed, so the table is changed. Same, we can update the data, also using the execute query. So just simply provide again the query, and the data is changed. And delete. So everything the same as with all the SQL queries. Then how to fetch the data from the database? As I said, we can call execute query. So this is also the query. We provide the query, but at the result we have so-called result set. So this is the object which actually has the values. So the same as the iterator, we can use it the same as the iterator. While next. So it works a little bit differently. It is structured in a little bit different way than the iterator is structured, but it works kind of the same as the iterator. So we can go through all the entries. So these are the entries which are selected. We call next, but in this case next do not return as something, but it actually moves the iteration to the next entry. And under the next entry, we can use the methods. We can get the values, and we can get different types of values. If we have integers, we call getInt. If we have strings, we call getString. And after that, inside the brackets, as the parameters, there are two options. We can provide the column. The index of the column. So if we have columns, like in this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. So we can provide the index of the column. For example, if I want to get ID, I provide column 1. If I want to get first name, I provide column 2, and so on. And the same way, I can also provide the names of the columns, like it is shown in this example. And this returns the corresponding value from the table. So we can also select statement using join. In this case, the result will be the same as I've shown you before, when we use SQL statements, SQL joining, but the query is different. We use join query and we get the result. So the queries are absolutely the same as on SQL level. In this case, yeah. In fact, I will show you one thing for a little bit later. But yeah, we have the simple SQL queries. They can be constructed in a different way, but usually, in fact, there are SQL queries here. So yeah, we'll have this practical task when we will just touch all these things using Java code as well. So if you have any questions, please write them. And at the moment we can have the break and meet after the break. We'll start doing all the technical things. Okay, so right now we will move to Eclipse. And let's move to the task. So we have practical assignment, and we'll skip creating a diagram. I would like to start with creating of the database table. So I will do it in PHP. My admin. So I will open it now. And yeah, so as we can see, we need to create the tables for the customer, for the suppliers, and to represent the orders. So I will let's create a database, and I will call the database maybe I will just call Java-13. So this database, and now we have tables. So first of all, what we need to create is as we can see from the text, we have the table. Okay, maybe let's create this table as the base table. Table of products. So we'll create table of products, and we have ID. I will use this as a key field. This one should be integer, and I will make this primary key, and I will take it as auto increment. So since this is ID, and I just want it to be automatically generated and to be incremented. Okay, so this is the first field. At the moment I won't add any additional properties. And then I have name, field name, and the name description of the product. So this should also be, I use varchar. Maybe I will restrict the length. In some cases this may be important. I have the price. The price should be decimal. So, and the length for decimals, as I remember, should be 2, I guess. Moment, this one I'm not really sure. Let me quickly check. So I think we need to define maybe let me just quickly check it. Like decimal place, yeah, because for decimals that the counting may be a little bit different. Okay, I think we need to use okay, let's see. Yeah, in this way, yeah. Yeah, I think this should be correct. So we have a number of digits, and we have decimal places. So as we know, for the price we have 2 decimal places. That's why I provided the value 2 here. Okay, then we have variety. This should also be, and I should be able to, add one column. So I add go here, I press go here, and I have variety. So this should also be integer, and this should be enough. Then we have category. I would like to use category ID. I will use category ID. And then I will use supplier ID. Okay, but right now that should be enough. Yeah. Right now we created the table. Then I would like to create the table for the categories. I have category ID here, but I would like to have a separate table for the categories, where I will store the ID of the category. And let it be automatically incremented as well. And then I will have the name of the category. Sorry. So I will function again. And right now I will have. So this is the table for the categories. Now I want to link this this category ID field to the categories table. So a moment, I'll quickly write a Sql Query. As you remember, we can use so that was this one. Yeah, we have references, so we can add references. Comment and reference. So now let me quickly search for the right. So we can add foreign key. Add foreign key. Add foreign key. For the field, I have the field category ID, and I add references, and the reference would be the table categories, and I provide the ID here. And so I need to write this way, and then I need to put in the brackets, and and also I need to alter table, which will show that I will use the table of products. So let's check now. Okay, seems correct. And yeah, so here you can see I have the key, which is located under indexes. Here you can see the indexes here, and the index points to the table of categories. So right now I have the column category ID, which is linked to the ID of the categories. Right now, okay. And so what we have next, we have supplier. So supplier should also be, no, for supplier we need to add more information. So let's create the table of suppliers. Table of suppliers, so, yeah. Table of suppliers. So then I have the ID of suppliers. Let's also make it auto-incremented to be auto-incremented. And then we have name of the supplier. It should be use varchar. First it is length 20. Contact. So what is meant by contact for the moment? Name contact. Not really sure what is meant by contact, so maybe I will skip this one. It's not so important. Yeah, to be honest, I'm not really sure what the contact means right here. But okay, maybe let's skip it. It's not so important for us. No, so there's phone number. So I will phone number. This should be integer, normally integer in addition to plus. Maybe let's use it as varchar again. So this is primary, and this is correct. Then we also have the email. This is also varchar. Our restricted is 120. And yeah, okay, I think for suppliers that should also be fine. Now let's do the same thing. Try to create it from indexes. Create an index on, so this would be supplier ID, unique, and yeah, for the column supplier ID. Okay, no, maybe let me just again quickly use. I'll back to use Sql Query. So then I'll back to add foreign key. Foreign key for supplier ID. And again, I need to use references. And here I provide table names, suppliers, and I provide the ID of supplier. Right, this is edit, and now I have the foreign key for the supplier. Moment. Yeah, so this is not mentioned here, but we have this foreign key now. Let's check if maybe we have it on the relation view. Oh yeah, so we have it on the relation view. And the relation view can see foreign key constraints. And yeah, so we have this restriction based on the column from different table. So we have table, we have the column on this, no, we have the column on this table here, and we have linkage to the column on the current table under relation view. Alright, so we have it for suppliers. Then the next one will be orders. Now the table for the orders. Have order ID. Same way I will use this as a primary key. Implemented. Product ID. Also the key. Not the key. This will be linked to the products. Then I have quantity. It's also to be integer. Yes, I have resolution. Resolution is the resolution is normal. I just zoomed out a little bit, just because to see the wall screen here. Okay, I can zoom it a little bit. That's not the problem. So otherwise, I will need to scroll it on the side. Okay, I can do it. I can do it. So yeah, and then we have the name and the surname of the customer. Customer name. So this should be. There are two ways how we can use define text value. There's text and there is varchar. Varchar is used more from my experience because we usually want to restrict the length for the text, and varchar is more restricted, but it can be used as string. I just want to restrict the number of the characters here. So let's add one more column. So we have customer name, then we have customer surname. So here's Java-13. You can use text, that's not important in this case. Then we have email, customer email. I'll add the prefix customer just to make it more clear. Then so add 120 again, and we also have customer phone number. Okay. Phone number. The integer. No, that's the text. I don't remember. I used it. Okay, maybe let's use varchar again. Because if we have such plus, for example, plus 371, that will be text non-integer, not integer. Yeah. Okay, so right now, sorry, no, I don't need it. I need to delete it. Okay, I'll quickly. I don't need it, I think. Okay, I don't need it. Okay, let's save. Sorry, right now I have another table, and again I want to link the product ID with the corresponding product ID in the products table, and I want to yeah, that's it. I think nothing more to be linked here, only product ID. Okay, so let's execute the query. So I have the tables like suppliers, orders, then I have product ID, and I want to link it to the ID in the table of products. So yeah, now I have the table. If you are not able to manage to follow this so quickly, don't worry. I will export SQL from this database, and then you can, as I shown before. So I will export this as SQL. Then you can go to your database and just history, and then open this SQL query, then copy paste it and just simply execute it from here. Then you will have all the tables with all the contents we just done through this lesson. Okay, so right now we have 4 tables. So we have basically the base table, which is one more table. One more field I missed, statuses. Sorry, that was my fault. Need to add one more column here, statuses. So we can add it, and this will be status. Again, I will add a status ID. I will save it. Then I'll create the table for the statuses. Status ID, this should be primary key and automatically implemented. And status name. Status name, this should be exactly lecture. And yeah, so that's it. And the last thing here to do is to again add it as the link the ID from here to the link to the status ID. So link status ID with the corresponding entry in the statuses table. So yeah, let's do it. For this one, let's write out all the table orders. Then we add foreign key, and status ID. References, status as and ID. Right. So now we created the foreign key. Now it is linked to the statuses table. Okay, so now we created the tables. Okay, let's see what we have done from there. Yeah, I have not created the diagram because I don't have this tool installed, and this will take a little bit time, time to install this and this tool for relationship diagram. That's why I will skip this diagram. I just draw it on my paper without any diagram here, because at the moment it's not so important from a technical point of view. Okay, then this is for you to create. Until Monday, please install one of these two options, because that will be for you. So that will be necessary for you to actually be able to repeat all these steps we currently do for Java and for the database. And just to repeat all these steps, you need to have your local server. Yeah, so this is it. And now we created these tables, we created the database, so we can move on to this task. Yeah, tables are created. Yes, so I created the tables now. Now let's add maybe just a little to speed up the process a little bit. I want to maybe merge these two tasks together, because when we just at this point we'll just simply need to write same Sql queries, and that's why I don't see the need why we need to separate. We do the task 3 if we can do the task 4. So yeah, that's why I would like to merge these tasks, and we can directly jump to Java. So this would be more efficient for us. Alright, so let's start with Java coding right here. And let's say not class, but I'd like to. So right now we will establish connection to the database from the code. So calling PDBC tasks. And create a class. And the main task for us is to establish the connection. This may be the trickiest thing for us. So a moment, let me write the code. Yeah. First of all, we need to do some imports. Let's import some SQL classes. We will need connection class. Then we will need a driver manager, statement, JavaSQL, statement interface we needed, and yeah, I think at the moment nothing more. Okay, so let's move on. First of all, as it said, we need to load the driver. So the driver can be loaded this way: mysql cm.mysql. Basically, I can copy the code from here. Okay. There are two types of drivers. And let me check this approach, because I have a little bit different code. I used a little bit different code before. Yeah, so handle the exception. Let's throw an exception. So right now I loaded the class from the swap crash, and but now I need to define the connection. Not define, but to establish the connection. So I have the class, or the object, the variable connection, and using the driver manager I will get the connection. But yeah, I will have three URLs, so I'll just copy the one I showed to you, and then I have user root, as I also showed to you before, root, and password is empty. So yeah, let's see if connection can be established. So I haven't, okay, it seems that connection is established, because the program is not crashed. Yeah, if you see that your program crashes, it means that, or if it is loading for a long time, it means that connection cannot be established. At this point, so the program is terminated, no errors. That's why I see that the program works fine here. And so yeah, as it stands from the task, add 3 records at each table. So first of all, maybe I will start with the table. Categories. Let's see how the table looks like. So we have ID and the names. So I will provide the names here. So first of all, I will create the statement, and I will create the statement from the connection. Alright, and now I need to add 3 entries. So like that. From the statement we can execute, and yeah, here I will provide the SQL query. And this to be insert into right here. I have not provided database name, that's why I need to provide it here. Java-13 and then just to access to the corresponding table, I need to write the database name. So the database name is Java-13, and then I need to mention the table name. So table name is categories. And then I provide field names, name, ID, and name. Oh no, I don't need to provide the ID, because this will be automatically implemented. And then I have the values. Write them in uppercase, lowercase. It's not so important. Usually they're written in uppercase, but we can also write in lowercase. That won't be an issue. Then the name is portable, as it stands from the description. So we will portable. And I will execute multiple statements. So the first one is portable, then there is computers, then there is PCs, and there's software, accessories, the last one. Accessories. Yeah, okay, so let's try to execute it. Sure, the statement is correct, but let's see. Okay, no issues. And voila, we have the result here. So our code works, entries are inserted. And maybe if we add more statement right here, let's show it again. I'll delete all the entries from this table. And again, if I run, we have no entries. Here I run our program is without the errors. I'm refreshing, so I'll refresh the table, and all the entries are here. And as you can see, since we deleted the entries, but the auto incrementing is still here, so it starts at 6, but it goes ahead by incrementing them right here. Alright, so the table is added, and one moment, if we add it again, then it will just add another entries, but we don't need to add them. Okay, so right now is done. I will comment out to not repeat these statements again. So this one is done. And then let's also insert and build a table for suppliers. So the categories are entered. So we need to, maybe let's split it into different methods, because that maybe will be more understandable for us. So the first word will be field categories. Maybe I will use it as public static, private static attribute connection. So I will use connection here just to access it from all the classes. And here I will pass it to connection. Let's add, again, this is the same. If I add it or not add it, the program will understand which variable we are trying to use. So I will copy the code here, and statement, okay, statements also can be put from here. And also need to throw the exception. And yeah, so let's call the method from here. So fill the categories. Right now I will comment it out because I already filled them, so no need to fill them twice. Then we have the suppliers. So I will fill some suppliers. Then I will create a statement, and I will create a supplier. So for suppliers we have ID that to be populated automatically, but we also have name and phone number, and we also have email. So the name would be not sure, the food supplier. No, it's not food supplier. Not sure. Let me think. Okay, let me simple supplier 1, supplier 2, and supplier 3, without any specific names. Supplier 1. Then we have phone number. Let it be. Sorry. It's 1, 2. Some number here. Yeah. Else, we have the email. The email. That's an email. Something like that. And the first statement. And let's create 3 suppliers. And then I will supply 2, I will change the values here. And I'll change the email. So copy paste this statement again. Third supplier, sorry, I have 3 suppliers here. Alright, so now let's fill the suppliers. Let's run the program. Okay, something is wrong. Okay, exception in SQL. Yeah, this is the exception we get when we have the issue with SQL Query. Okay, let's see what's the issue we have. Oh, maybe because the length is too... Yeah, okay, sorry, maybe let's have a shorter number. I think we accidentally added the value for... Oh, no, sorry, we have another issue. Let's check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 3, Okay, something is wrong. Oh, sorry, not suppliers, but supplier. Suppliers, not supplier. No, we have multiple suppliers. Oh, sorry, my fault. Suppliers, not supplier. Okay, let's check it again. Okay, still the issue. So we have SQL error. Okay, let's check what are the issues we have. if we have such error, we need to clarify if we have correct query here. We have name, then we have phone number, and we have the email. Okay, then we have the values. For name it's correct. For the phone number, that should be 10 characters. Again, let's check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's correct. And 20 characters for the email. That should also be correct. Okay. Suppliers. Okay, the table name seems to be correct as well. What have I missed here? Syntax seems to be correct as well. And values, yeah. Database name is correct as well. Oh yeah, it also shows where's the issue. Shows the issue somewhere near here. File 1. Oh yeah, so here I have the issue. Okay, sorry, no, the comma is located after the quotation mark. Ooh, sorry, my fault. Quotation mark is missed. So the comma is missed as well. Okay, so now it seems to be no issues. Let's check our database. And we have all the entries here. Okay. So we executed our query from the from Java code. Alright, what is else mentioned here to be? So yeah, we now added 3 entries in, or we added entries in categories table and in suppliers table. So what else is mentioned? Add 3 records at each table. Okay, maybe let's add. I think today we can manage to also to statuses. Okay, so we also have the statuses, and that will be the last thing we can do today. Let's do the same for the statuses. Static void for statuses, and we throw section, and I will copy paste this part of code. And maybe let me. No, I think I'll copy something else because I don't have short statements here. So we have statuses. This will be statuses. And yeah, for the name, and what names do we have for the statuses? For the statuses, as it stands from the task, we have entered, processing, cancel, or delivered, or done. Okay. So we have enter it, then we have in processing, and then we have cancelled, and we also have delivered. Alright, that is done. And let's execute the program. Yeah, then I will comment out to not add more suppliers. At the moment we don't need it. Okay, so let's run the code. No issues. Let's see how it looks in our database administration. Yeah, everything is in place. all the statuses are here. Okay, then the next time we will add the products and we will also add the orders. So the task for you is to set up the environment so you can easily repeat the steps we've done today. Also, I will share the table with you, database with you, not the table but the database with you. So I'm sending SQL query. You can execute it on your database, from SQL, and you will have all the tables we have. And also I'll push the code as usually for our main project. So this will be code for today. I think that you will understand. Okay, and so this is it for this week. Next week we will finish this assignment and we'll move on. Okay, so have a nice weekend and see you on Monday. Bye.